You know, I have a problem, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you what the problem is. I'm using this new technique for beginning my show because, you know, I used to walk around the basement and do my Periscope things. The problem is it tracks every wild, rebellious hair on my head. Look at that. I can't get these hairs to stay down. Now that I told you that, you're going to be doing nothing but looking at my hair this whole time. But I'm telling you, something, look at that. The hair goes, it spikes up like that. Anyway, you know what's giving me a bad hair day is the amnesty situation. And I'm going to say some controversial things today about this, and I know somebody's not going to like it, and they're going to be upset with me when I say it. I'm trying to get this camera to stay with me here. See? There we go. I'm trying to sort out the amnesty situation because President Trump is saying some different things that's sending signals that he's got people in the hotel industry and in the farm industry, and the guy, he's actually right. But I'm worried about where this is going. So is Charlie Kirk and a couple of other people. So I'm going to cover it. We're going to go into it. I'm going to get into some detail. I'm going to give you some information that you haven't got before. But if you're losing sleep, you know who you got to think about? My Pillow, Mike Lindell. Look at what he's been going through with his battle with the courts. He needs our help. I want you to bring up the My Pillow advertisement. I want you guys to go here. Check it out. Bring it up, guys. There it is. I talked to my staff. I said, what's Mike doing these days? We need to really support him. He's got these legal fees. And I heard that My Pillow Percale bed sheet sets. And this is amazing. Chelsea tells me that his bed sheets that fabric has frequencies. Fabric has frequencies. I want you to think about that. A fabric, and if these are cool, that means that when you use these sheets, you can cool off at night, so you don't have to freak out as I've been doing over the amnesty issue. You can start to use these sheets, and they've got a frequency of summer cool. My Pillow Percale bed sheet sets as low as $79.98. I'm going into the story now. I don't want you to miss about amnesty, but you'll sleep a lot better, and you'll help Mike sleep if you check out these. I'm told they get more comfortable the more you use them, you wash them. They become almost like the little blankie you had as a kid. All right. I'm actually so sold on that. I'm telling Annabelle to get me some of them now. Everything my staff is doing, I try to do myself. All right, let's get into today's show. Let's find out what's behind door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. And I'm going to give you some inside baseball about what I think is going on. Let's get in there. Well, I'm going to go right into the amnesty battle. You know, this is... my take on this is going to be a little different. And of course, we've got our fire breathers that'll be upset with me. But I wanted to say something. You got 10 million illegals that came in under Joe Biden. I did an interview, you'll see it in the segments, with a Special Forces ex-Green Beret who was on the border, who could verify that Yemeni and Hamas and Afghans, radicals, military age, bad hombres, and Iranians got into the country. And we have hundreds among the millions, perhaps thousands, that are bad actors. And I think you and I know this. We're all waiting to see, is there another 9/11 disastrous, event looming within our borders? Because when you have a country that was being dismantled. I mean, I don't have to tell you that, when you got Easter Sunday becomes Trans Awareness Day, that tells you everything. We were taken over by the most radical, bizarre elements of extremism. And at all departments, it was like a cancerous spread. Thank God Donald Trump came into office. One of the things that I'm going to say is that if the administration would focus on the 10 million. There'll be enough riots in LA and Chicago and New York just to get the 10 million out that came in the last 48 months. Where I think the administration is in danger is if that base of people that are a little shaken up by the Epstein thing, we're going to cover that. There's a MAGA base that loves the president, but they're not like the left. They talk about, we don't have kings. You know who kings are? Kings are like Biden. When you're fumbling around mentally incoherent, and you've got Easter bunnies leading you by the hand and celebrities walking off the platform and automatic pens writing things for you. The left is the ones that do homage to whoever's in the power structure, like the Communist Party, at the top of their party, because they just want to retain power and keep the spigot of money coming their way. So the left is the ones that actually operate with kings. We, on the other hand, the moment we don't like Epstein's results, boom, we're out there. So that's not a king's response with everybody bowing down. It's like that's an intelligent, healthy, conservative MAGA community, which is saying, wait a second. And what are you doing with the illegal situation? Are you actually toying with the idea? We may have 30 million that are here. So I'm not talking about the ones that were here pre-Biden. I think you got 10 million on the menu that you ought to be able to get on next. They don't have a history of employment and labor and working and churches and kind of coming in and trying to become citizens, fleeing. Obviously, there are a great many people fleeing the bad scenario that they were leaving behind in their, cartel-ridden community. But I don't think anyone's going to argue with the last 48 months of Biden's administration. So I think nobody's saying that, and nobody, of course, my base will go, oh, they all have to go, Lance. But it's the optics and it's the spin. When you got a Senate that's like 50-50, Congress is like 50-50, the Supreme Court where you bite your nails and pray that they come up with the right decision, you're not in a country that you've carried with. We haven't done the job of public persuasion to the degree that we've actually moved the needle the way we need to in order to go after 20 million people, especially those that have relationships and they're in churches and they've been here for 15 years or so. So let me just say this again. I believe we cannot sustain illegal immigration. And we got 10 million. It'll be hard enough at the rate that Trump has funded. He can only do 1 million a year. And that's going to be with all kinds of histrionics from the left. And they'll find the one story they could find and amplify it about this poor lady with her 2 kids is being sent out. So let's start with an alarming little update. Charlie Kirk got this. He started getting calls from the establishment elites who are invested in the immigration because it gives them cheap labor. What does that mean? I guess they're paid under the table, a lot of them. And so there's an interest in having, this reason why the problem wasn't solved. There wasn't enough resolve in congressional districts, really, or in the Senate to deal with this when Biden was doing it. So Trump's kind of alone. But let's go let's start with the 46 seconds that got everyone alarmed when President Trump quoted on July 3rd. This is just like recently. He said something that made people think he was working on some kind of backroom amnesty deal. Watch this quote. Watch this video.
We're working on legislation right now where farmers, look, they know better. They work with them for years. You had cases where, not here, but just even over the years, where people have worked for on a farm for 14, 15 years, and they get thrown out pretty viciously, and we can't do it. We got to work with the farmers and people that have hotels and leisure properties too. We're going to work with them, and we're going to work very strong and smart, and we're going to put you in charge. We're going to make you responsible, and I think that that's going to make a lot of people happy. Now, serious radical right people, who I also happen to like a lot, they may not be quite as happy, but they'll understand, won't they? Do you think so? Madam Secretary, look at you with a white hat on. Do you think they'll understand that you're the one that brought this whole situation up?
Well, here's the challenge. Trump, he's better than we are. Because here's what he's saying. He's saying you got 15 years or 20 years or 18 years. You got these people working 40, 50 hours a week. And should we not be able to take a look and have like an Engels scale, a scale that says, who are the ones that we're actually after, that we benefit from removing? You got 400,000 manufacturing jobs right now in America that no one will take. American kids, you think American youth want to take a factory job? Unfortunately, they were sold on the fact that money is easy and it's just out there and that they ought to get it. So we got 400,000 jobs. We could have a roaring manufacturing community revival with the great engine of American recovery. And look at that. Almost 500,000 jobs nobody wants. So there's the problem. You got people that have been here 15 or 20 years. And I'll tell you something. You're going to get mad at me and yell at me. But I've got my Christian Hispanic pastors who say that people in their church are worried because some of them have been here for 15 or 20 years and they're part of the church. And then they're worried that they're going to end up getting uprooted and sent. This is in a sense what can be avoided by just saying we're focusing on who came in when Biden was here first. Let's start with the first 10 million. Now, Trump is saying, and it's going to be interesting because I want to hear what Brooke Rollins has to say, because she's bringing up the fact that in the agricultural sector, we've got lots of people out there that are hardworking. And these are people that probably, in my opinion, would be pro-family, pro-America, pro-jobs, and probably wouldn't want socialism, which they fled. This isn't a bad group of people. And people are going to yell at me, Lance, you got to get rid of it. I understand it. That's why Trump is better than we are. Because the guy has the ability to have this Solomon-like sense that there's folks that we need to get rid of, and then there's folks that we really don't have to prioritize getting rid of because they're actually working, and they're contributing, and they're put them on the government payroll or put them on tax them, and cut off the money that's going out of the country, and blah, blah, blah. There's ways that you can harness that. I know people are already upset with me. So, and Charlie Kirk probably will lead that pack. Charlie, play video 1 on what Charlie got the calls on.
Literally the day before President Donald Trump was signing the big, beautiful bill, I got a couple phone calls from people that you would call members of the ruling class. A lot of money and a lot of connections. They said, Charlie, isn't this amazing? We passed the big, beautiful bill. I said, oh, yes, sir. And they said, now we need mass amnesty. What? I said, we haven't even signed the bill yet. They said, yeah, you know, these deportations, we're going to lose the midterms because of the deportations. The people on the right, they'll understand. And we need to come to the middle, and we need to legalize the 25 million people here in this country. I was speechless. Because here I am actually thinking, a little naive, we're going to sign this big, beautiful bill, and we're actually going to get mass deportations uninterrupted from an asymmetrical attack. So we have somewhere between 20 to 50 million illegal aliens in this country. We don't actually know the numbers. These are all guesstimates. These are all just approximations. And there is a movement afoot as I am doing this broadcast. And this is bigger than anything with Epstein. This is bigger than anything with tax cuts. It is happening right now in Washington, D.C. And I can say this from firsthand experience, that people are pushing President Trump for amnesty. They are pushing him for mass legalization of illegals.
Pushing for on that. So 25, 30 million. Do you understand why I'm saying focus on the 10 million that came in the last 4 years? You got plenty on your plate. And forget this 25 million things. And these people are creepy. They're anti-American. They're globalists, actually. They could care less what happens to America. When you've got swing states that we battled in, I was there in the front lines, and we did the Courage Tour in like 5 or 7 swing states, and it was rough. And I had to raise like $1 million to do that. But it was like my focus because I wanted to do what we could do. Flashpoint, Army, Mario Murillo, we did everything we can with our agency. And what I'll tell you is this. The American people want to have a country that is not manipulated by elites like that. Because here's what happens with a swing state where 20,000 votes can flip over a state for a Senate or congressional or certainly presidential. When 160,000 or 200,000 votes determines the entire trajectory of the country in the Oval Office on down into all the placements that we saw the Democrats do crazy stuff with Rachel Levine and and all these people. So you don't want 1 million people who are going to suddenly go in and register Democrat and completely take over the country so that you end up with this nutty mayor in New York being a mayor in New York and having Gavin Newsom's California in 50 states, because that's what would happen with 1 million votes when elections are turned by 20,000 and 200,000. You understand what I'm saying? So Ted Cruz had a solution years ago, proving that the left only wanted the illegals for the power to get them to become socialists, to promise them government freebies so they could get elected, kind of like in becoming like a banana republic. And Cruz said, all right, how about we do amnesty, but they can't vote for 10 years? And the Democrats rejected it. That was actually a proposal. We'll work on amnesty for those that are qualified, but they can't vote for 10 years. Because in 10 years, if they're working and we make the argument, they would reject socialism. But it was shot down. I just want to know the history of this, because the left doesn't care about it, and neither does the right. They're not these elites. All right, I got to take a break. We're going to come right back. This subject is not over yet. I want you to hear what Brooke Rollins had to say.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my two best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size, only $99.98. Don't delay. Order today.
All right, so Charlie was speechless after he got his slimy appeal from the elites that said, "Well, it's going to be great we got the bill passed." So business conservatives are no better than the open border clowns with the Democrat Party, I'm reading. There's no daylight between the business conservative and the progressive white suburbanite under Joe Biden. They all want mass illegal immigration. They don't care about the consequences to the government because they're part of the uniparty ruling class anyway. They make their money off of cheap labor. Trump's bill funds immigration and customs enforcement at steroid levels. And mass deportations are popular. And we haven't even had a terrorist event yet. You want to know what's going to put this thing on steroids? The first mass casualty incident that can be traced back to a Yemeni, crazy, Iranian, Persian strike. But let's pray that doesn't happen, ironically. We have to pray it doesn't. You can tell these so-called ruling class Republicans watch the same trash as the far left. We cut taxes, kicked illegals off of Medicaid, funded the immigration enforcement protocols we've yearned for since Trump first became president. And now we got to hear about this fifth column nonsense that will undo the second term of Trump's presidency. These people need to understand their time is up. It's over. Trump built a multiracial, middle-class, working-class party. He took the Democrats' rank and file and broke the spell off of them and said, "Are you really for this, or do you want this?" And so his invasion of the Latino community, the Hispanic community in terms of voter turnout, went from like 20% up to the 45 percentile. Now, the feeling is that the mass deportations, these guys are saying, is going to create a ripple effect that will negatively affect the midterms because of the compassion of Americans will be played to by all the channels of propaganda to make it seem like it's an inappropriate, strategy. And then the pressure will be on congressional candidates to support in their own districts the fair treatment of these people. But these slimy agents in D.C. are threatening that the midterms will go wrong if Trump pursues his agenda. And I suggest, it's just me, my lone little voice, but if he would focus not just on criminals, but on those that came into the country in the last 4 years, our plate is full enough. But Americans are reasonable enough to say, at least that we can all agree on, even if there's some confusion as to what to do with the remainder of the unknown. We can all focus on that, because here's my concern. If there's any waffling on this, and his instincts are very good on this stuff. If there's waffling on this position, that will hurt the midterms. Come on, you know as well as I do what I'm saying is true. If there isn't consistency on this removing of the threat of people that illegally entered the country under Biden's watch particularly, then the MAGA base will fray. They're already upset over the Epstein thing. You know what's funny about our group is that we really want transparency, and we know there's bad, nefarious, manipulative, distorting, lying actors all over the apparatus of government, and Donald Trump's convinced us that he ain't playing that game. He's got to be congruent on that, but there has to be shrewdness, and he's saying, and I understand what he's saying, his friends are in the hotel industry. Trust me, he's a business guy, and they're saying, man, I got 50% of my people I think that are working here. They're hard working, Donald, Mr. President, they're hard working. And, I don't have any problem from them. They don't give me any lip. They'll work where I can't even get Americans to do this work. They all feel entitled to this and that. And so the president, he's like, I'll tell you, Solomon-like, he's going, well, that's the part I think we can win those people. They're not my target. My target is everybody that's feeding off the government, crawling around, part of the infrastructure of the left that's waiting to emerge with amnesty so they can wave their, like in California, their Mexican flag and spit on the American flag. He wants them out, and so do you. So I'm just telling you. Now, I haven't heard this segment yet, but you know who's really got a challenge is Brooke Rollins, former director of the America First Policy Institute, very much beloved by the MAGA base, strong believer, very competent, and she's caught in this crosshairs of representing the agricultural community where she knows the people that are laboring out in the field. And I'm talking about they've been there for a long time, pre-Biden, and they are the working class that we should look at. She's saying, man, you pull them out, you're going to get the average high school student to go out and do that job at working out in the fields? Look, I'm not going to be racial about this, but it's going to sound racial. I live in Texas. Anyone who lives in Texas, who lives in a nice community, whether it's Grapevine, South Lake, Dallas, Fort Worth, you take a look on any day on who is hustling and working the manual labor on lawns. Lots of lawn care out here where I live. People have manicured lawns. They're nice upper class people out there. And I'm looking, and all these guys, they're all Hispanic primarily, laboring, hustling, working. I don't know who is actually going to do the weed whacking, mosquito killing work in the fields. Like I said, people are going to go, they're going to get mad at me on my MAGA side. They're going to get mad at me on the racist side. They are the Hispanic community, or they're, because, I mean, I even go up and interview them. They get all nervous when I talk to them. We had a roofing thing in my neighborhood where hail every now and comes down. And these guys are like the business community are like locusts. When there's hail, they're knocking on your door. We'll give you an estimate for fixing your roof. So I have like around 10 guys on the roof next door, 10 people working on the roof next door. I go down because I want to talk to them about, who they are in case I need some work done on my roof. And they all froze nervously. They didn't speak a word of English. And there's one guy in charge of the crew. They looked at him. He came over. He was like the interpreter. And he wasn't giving me any details. He just handed me a card for who his boss is. These guys are working on what I'm trying to say to you is, so I think there's a difference between a boatload of illegals who we cannot afford to have here, 10 million in the last 48 months, last 4 years of Biden. I think there's a difference between them and the groups that are being swept up in this. I haven't heard Brooke Rollins' comments, but she knows what I'm saying is true, but probably has to toe the line because of the red meat, angry MAGA base, and they all gonna go. And that's gonna hit, I'm gonna tell you ahead of time, the Christian community, the pastors in these churches, they're going to have a different perspective, because that means that it's going to be hurting people that are actually good people that have to go. And you might say, well, that's the way it is, Lance. They didn't come in illegally. Yeah, but I think you're going to go be digging back 10, 15, 20 years. And I think that's where it isn't really the equitable arrangement you want. And I don't think these people are flaming socialist Democrats either. I think those pastors have churches that are pro-Trump. I know that for a fact. So anyway, let me hear what Brooke said. First time I'm hearing it. Play video cut 3.
The first thing I'll say is the president has been unequivocal that there will be no amnesty, and I think that's very, very important. I and the rest of our cabinet certainly support that, effectuate that, and make sure that happens every single day. The second thing, to your question about mass deportations, the president and I have spoken about that once or twice, and he has always been of the mindset that at the end of the day, the promise to America to ensure that we have a 100% American workforce stands, but we must be strategic in how we are implementing the mass deportation so as not to compromise our food supply. Ultimately, the answer on this is automation, also some reform within the current governing structure, and then also when you think about there are 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program. There are plenty of workers in America, but we just have to make sure we're not compromising today, especially in the context of everything we're thinking about right now. So no amnesty under any circumstances. Mass deportations continue, but in a strategic and intentional way as we move our workforce toward more automation and toward a 100% American workforce. And ultimately, it's the wonderful members of Congress behind me who are taking this on the fixing the current immigration system. So thank you so much.
That was great. I think she dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. She said what she had to say. No amnesty, but be strategic. What's she saying? Well, you got 34 million able-bodied adults. I'm sorry to say this, but I can say what I want. It's my own show. I don't think you're going to get 34 million able-bodied adults volunteering to go out in the fields and pick the berries and work the fields in the heat of the 100-degree sun that we've got here in Texas. And we have a spoiled generation that thought that they could grab an iPhone and become a celebrity. Lord knows you got OnlyFans girls. They're stripping and having sex, as an industry, making $100,000 a month. So we've created a kind of a sick dependency on easy money and low work ethic. And that's the byproduct. Our universities that give you an advanced degree on gender studies. You take that degree, and now you're going to go pay off your college loan unless, of course, Democrats decide, like Biden, they're just going to pay it for you. You got a useless degree to become a political activist, basically, in a field that who's going to pay you to do gender study work in their company? I mean, does that turn a profit? Does that help you build your business? Or your various other, your LGBTQ specialists on equality. The only way that works is if you got a government that employs people to do training and basically work for the government to indoctrinate the military and the universities. In other words, Trump's building a working America. And the key word there is strategic. Because I don't know that you're going to find those 34 million able-bodied people that have been getting checks without having to work to do work that only the muscular class and the working worker class is willing to go out and do. And that's where you do need to have intelligent immigration. You want to have working people, not people that are relying on government handouts that is tanking our $36 trillion debt. By the way, for every illegal that we remove from the system who isn't working, we are saving ourselves $1 trillion over the next 2 or 3 years of government dependence. So there's a deficit reduction strategy there. I'm going to stop the train there. Send your hate mail to freedom@lancewallnau.com. Give me your opinion. I'm always interested in reading it. But I'm saying Trump's trying to thread the needle, and the president's got his hands full because our base is, I don't want to say it, Rush Limbaugh referred to low information voters, but we become hot button issue MAGA. And it's like we already have our opinions on things. We don't want to be bothered with the complexity of what it means to actually implement it. I say go after the 10 million. That's your priority. And you got your hands full with that because you only got a budget for 1 million a year. You're only going to get 4 million out. Go for the recent ones. They don't have emotional connections with communities. Anyway, I'm going to end it right there. Thanks for watching this. I appreciate all of you guys. Read all of your comments. Like, share. I mean that. Like, share, and subscribe. Because you know what I do? This is a word of mouth thing. This started with me walking around my house with an iPhone doing periscopes at 11 o'clock at night. Now we got a couple 100,000 people out there watching us. But if we don't share it, it doesn't go anywhere. So let's keep building the movement And I appreciate all of you with all my heart, and even the people who disagree with me. So long as we can stay friends, okay? Let's stay friends. I might be wrong. You can educate me. How's that? Let's be conservatives and Christians that actually can be educated. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen-size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.